For a moment, Jonas feared that he might disgrace himself now on the first day of his training by falling asleep. Then he shivered. He realized that the touch of the hands felt suddenly cold. And at the same time, breathing in, he felt the air change, and his breath was very cold. He licked his lips, and in doing so, his tongue touched the suddenly chilled air. It was very startling, but he was not at all frightened now. He was filled with energy, and he breathed again, feeling the sharp intake of frigid air. Now, too, he could feel cold air swirling around his entire body. He felt it blowing against his hands where they lay at his sides and over his back. The touch of the man's hands seemed to have disappeared. Now he became aware of an entirely new sensation. Pinpricks? No, they were soft and without pain. Tiny, cold, feather-like feelings peppered his body and his face. He put out his tongue again and caught one in the dots of cold upon it. It disappeared from his awareness instantly, but he caught another and another. The sensation made him smile. One part of his consciousness knew that he was still lying there on the bed in the annex room. Yet another separate part of his being was upright now, in a sitting position. Sitting position!
Ow!
On a flat, hard surface. His hands were now held, though at the same time...
There's snow on this!
At the same time, was still noiselessness at his side, a rough, damp rope. And he could see, though his eyes were closed, he could see a bright, whirling torrent of crystals in the air around him.
No!
And he could feel them gather on his back, the back of his hands like cold fur.
Okay, stop!
His breath was visible beyond, through the swirl of what he now somehow perceived that was the old thing the old man had spoken of, snow. He could look out and down great distance. He was up a high place. The ground was thick with furry snow, but he sat slightly above it on a hard, flat surf object. Sled, he knew abruptly. He was sitting on a thing called sled. And the sled itself seemed to be poised at the top of a long, extended mound that rose from the very land where he was. Even as he thought that the word mound, his new consciousness told him hill. Then the sled, with Jonas himself upon it, began to move through the snow.
Push it! Go!
Then the sled with him on it began to move through the snowfall. He understood instantly that he was now going downhill. No voice made an explanation. The experience explained itself. His face cut through frigid air as he began descent, moving through the substance called snow on a vehicle called sled, which propelled itself on what he now knew without doubt to be runners. Comprehending all these things as he sped down. Go faster! He sat there for a moment, panting, holding the rope in his cold hands. Tentatively, he opened his eyes, not his snow hill sled eyes, for they had been open throughout the strange ride. He opened his ordinary eyes. How do you feel? He asked. Jonas sat up and tried to answer honestly. Surprised, he said, after a moment. The old man wiped his forehead with his sleeve. Woo, he said. It was exhausting, but even transmitting that tiny memory to you, I think it lightened me just a little. Do you mean you did say I could ask questions? The man nodded, encouraging his question. Do you mean that now you don't have the memory of it? The ride on the sled anymore? That's right. A little bit of this old body. But it was fun, and now I don't have it anymore. But the old man laughed.
Haha.
All I gave you was one ride on one sled in one snow on one hill. I have a whole world of them in my memory. I could give them to you one by one 1,000 times, and there would still be more. Are you saying that could you do it again? Jonas asked. I really like to. I think I could steer by pulling the rope. I didn't try this time because it was so new. The old man, laughing, shook his head.
Haha.
Maybe another day, for a treat. but there's no time, really, just to play. I only wanted to begin by showing you how it works. Now, he said, turning businesslike, lie back down, I want to. Jonas did. He was eager for whatever experience would come next, but he had suddenly so many questions. Why don't we have snow? The old man shrugged and gave a short laugh. No, he said, Jonas. He told Jonas. It's a very distant memory. That's why it was so exhausting. I had to tug it forward from many generations back. It was given to me when I was a new receiver, and the previous receiver had to pull it through a long time period too. But what happened to those things? Snow and the rest of it? Climate control. Snow made growing food difficult, limited the agricultural periods, and unpredictable weather made transportation almost impossible at times. It wasn't a practical thing, so it became obsolete when we went to sameness. And hills, too, he added. They made conveyance of goods unwieldy. Trucks, buses slowed them down. So, he waved his hand as if a gesture had caused the hills to disappear.